Hey, hey, how are you? We're doing something a little bit different today. So it's me, Brittany, and we are going to go ahead and do an episode of our Entrepreneur Family live stream solo. So I'm excited to chat with you guys today. Our live stream has typically been on Fridays, and so we're excited to get back into it. The schedule's been a little chaotic, as you could imagine, with kids starting back to school. And but yeah, we're ready to roll, ready for a super strong fall. So the topic that I want to chat with you about today is actually from a friend who made a post yesterday. Um, and I'll definitely give you all the credit. But my friend Amanda posted and she was just like, how in the world do you balance professional responsibilities and home responsibilities? Because it feels like if I'm super strong in one, then the other one suffers, or vice versa. And if your career is something that's super important to you, obviously your family is too. And so it's a painful dynamic when you feel like you're in this wrestle between one and the other. And so I actually have some things that I want to share with you today that are some strategies that I've been able to use that I feel like have helped me through other seasons where it really felt like, oh my God, my family is totally getting the very last of me, like, whatever's left over at the end of the day, that's what they're getting, and that's a terrible feeling. Or I'll feel like I'm making no progress in work, and it's so frustrating because day in and day out, you're like, "I love my family, but I am not doing the things that I'm excited to do professionally." And so both ends of the spectrum are frustrating, and so there's some things that I have adopted in my work rhythm and routine, and then family rhythm and routine that I think could be beneficial. So if this is something that you are wrestling with right now, or you struggle with, or you know someone who is in this dynamic, share this with them. And then I do have the comments open. So if I'm going and something is resonating with you and you want to hear more about it or you want more clarity on it, like please drop comments as things come up for you. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. And I'm happy to go back and comment and like expand on anything or explain anything further. Would love a dialogue around this. So excited to dive in. Okay, so the first and foremost, as it relates to balancing work and home, is that, and we learned this some years ago from a mentor of ours. The word balance, in and of itself, is an extremely frustrating word. If you imagine walking a tightrope, you're balancing on the tightrope. That is just the image of it is full of, you're tense and it's stressful, and there's so much pressure and you can't make one wrong move. And so if you imagine yourself walking a tightrope and knowing that every step is so fragile and your whole body is just giving everything that it's got to keep you on that tightrope because you can't make a wrong step in any direction, that idea of balance is something that puts pressure on us just out of the gate, right? Like trying to keep a balance in either area is a misconception. And so the word that he encouraged us to use instead was a rhythm. When you dance, you find your rhythm. When you are, in a different season of life and you know that you've kind of found a rhythm and a groove in one area, there's things that kind of start to click and start to work together and they feel good. Going back to the music example, it's like when you really find the beat, right? Like I'll just tell myself, like I had a hard time clapping on the right beats when I first started going to this spirit-filled church. And so it took me a while. And worship was really frustrating because I didn't ever feel like I could really find my rhythm. You know, I went enough, I practiced enough, it got good enough. Then when you can like hear the rhythm of the song and stay on the beat, everything got better. It was more enjoyable. And so I would encourage you to not look at it like you need to find a balance between your professional life and your personal life, but to find the rhythm. And the rhythm is going to change over the different seasons. And so this may be a heavy work season for you, knowing that we're going into fall. Whatever your job is, most people are gearing back up. Summer has been winding down. Obviously, it's Labor Day this weekend. So you may be full steam ahead in work, or school just started back up. Oh my gosh, my kids are in like 6 or 7 different extracurriculars. Maybe your personal life is gearing back up, and and that's the rhythm that you're in, and that's the season that you're in. I would just encourage you to get really honest with yourself about the season that you're in. Because if you're in a season where it's time to really spend a lot of intention and energy and focus professionally or personally, and you're trying to do a lot in both areas, you are constantly going to be disappointed and frustrated and feel like, hey, what's wrong with me? I can't figure this out. And it's like, no, if we take a step back, find some self honesty about the season that we're in, it alleviates a lot of that tension and frustration and like, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me? Why can't I hack it? Why can't I handle this? I have all this mom guilt, and then I want to like really crack through to the next level in my career. Like, what's going on? I see other people doing it. Why can't I do it? None of your story. Be honest about the season that you're in and find your rhythm within that season. And as we all know, seasons change. And so if you're not super excited about the current season that you're in, that's okay. It will have an expiration date on that season. I've been there so many times. Being in children's ministry upstairs at our satellite campus where we were pastoring, and changing diapers when all I wanted to do was be downstairs and exhorting and talking to people and on the stage and like sharing my gifts. Changing diapers is a very different season than being on the stage and in the front and sharing the gifts that I feel like I've seen visions of, right? Very different seasons. But it took me some time to get honest with the season that I was in. And then I could stop fighting it and embrace that season, find my rhythm in that season. So that's the first thing is I know that the title of this is balance because most people want balance. So I use that word to basically hope that you listen and then I can, adjust that mindset for you. So rhythm versus balance is super important. And then just the other mindset that like the things that I'm going to share with you next require an investment because there's some things that we pay for that I never would have paid for before. But knowing that my time is valuable and knowing that there's only certain things that I can do, and then there's a very long list of things that anybody can do. I understand that those things are worth an investment because the time that I do have in my business, or if you have a corporate job, the time that you do have in that job, if you have goals and dreams of getting to a certain level, that time is valuable because you're choosing to spend your time away from your family to be in that. Then there's time with your family and time with your kids and time with your partner. That time is extremely valuable. And if I'm folding laundry until 10 p.m. or all Saturday to catch up on everything that I didn't get to do throughout the week, I'm spending my time in a way that is not of the highest value. And so your time that you have in work and with your family is so valuable. So I want to encourage you to just keep an open mind. If you haven't invested in some of these support systems yet, just like it's okay. Suspend doubt with me for just a few minutes and be like, what if this is possible? And I didn't see my family do it, and I didn't see my mom do it this way, and I didn't necessarily see my community do it this way. But hey, what if this is possible? And what if it really doesn't take a whole lot, and all it takes is a few mindset shifts that aren't even that big, but I do understand my time is super valuable, and so I'm open and willing to listen to these suggestions and just see how they may work for our family. Because I can tell you the time that I do get to spend in the business because of some of these things, and the time that I get to spend with my family because of these things the quality has dramatically improved. So, yes, I just want you to keep an open mind as I go into these next few things. Okay, I have a virtual assistant who is literally only hired to help me with my email support. We have Daryl and I have a virtual assistant for literally everything else in our business. But about a year and a half ago, I went on Upwork, 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 and I put out a job listing for email support. I said I have three inboxes that I'm managing. I have my personal one. Um, I have an info app for the business, and then my personal, and then mine for the business. So I had three inboxes that were constantly refilling, right? Like my kid's school sends emails multiple times a day, and most often those emails are full of important dates and deadlines. I was losing my mind. I'm like constantly asking my kids, like, do you have a test today? What's going on? Is your project due? Because I care how they're doing in school. And I'm assuming if you're listening to this and this is an issue for you, you also care about, your kids' schoolwork and how they're doing. And so I didn't want to fall behind on anything, but it also was taking so much energy and like brain bandwidth, right? Like mental bandwidth to try to stay on top of it all because I genuinely care. So I said, and then my work inbox, everybody knows your work inbox is just a whole thing. It's full of leads and potential business, and you're nurturing other business, or you have a project that's moving forward, or whatever that looks like for you and your work email. Everything feels important and you don't want to miss anything. But you are not a machine. You are a human. And so you are going to miss things. So what I did is I decided to post this job. And literally, if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't even know where to start with that, how do I do that? I would be happy to send you the job posting that I listed on Upwork. And it literally was called, I, I think I said, email support for three busy inboxes or something like that. And so I was very clear on what I needed. I let them know my personal inbox has three kids, teachers emailing me almost daily with deadlines. Uh, I will give her my school calendar, like that the girls' school gives me at the beginning of the year, and I'll say, "Hey, can you get all of these dates, on my calendar?" That's something that used to take me forever to do, or I just wouldn't do it, and then we'd forget something. And when your daughter comes home and it was pajama day and you forgot and she wore regular clothes, the world is coming to an end, and it is so sad. And so that hasn't happened in a very long time, thank God. So she helped me with my personal email by taking all of my kids' teachers. So at the beginning of the year this year, and I did this last year, I gave her the names and emails of each teacher and which daughter it was for, right? So I was like, Amaya has Mrs. So and so, and so on. So what she's done now is Google has a task manager feature. And so she'll add the task to my Google, like my personal Google, and there's like a task app, and she'll add it to that day at 7 a.m. on the day that, like yesterday, my daughter had a social studies quiz for fifth grade. So as we're all up and the house is busy and bustling, and I'm like, Ava, are you ready for your social studies test today? And she'll say, yeah, or she'll say, no, not really. And so then we can maybe kind of study on the way. And you can see your tasks ahead of time. But the point is, I remembered Ava feels seen and supported. And I feel seen and supported because my amazing VA was able to sort through my email and find that date for me. I'm able to chat with her on the go, and I'm like, hey, can you please add this to my calendar? Or there's an email that my kid mentioned and I can't find the date or whatever, like they have picnics next week. So she's grabbing that info. And so that's incredibly helpful. Now, on a work side, I understand if you work in corporate America and it feels a little weird to add a VA to your work email. I understand that. I can remember a time when I was working in the hospital and it may have felt a little odd. But if your upper management is cool with it, I would 1,000% advocate for this because they can star the things that are important, they can label the things that are important, they can archive the junk, they can help you to sort through and organize your inbox so that when you are working, you're working efficiently and you are not having to take the time to sort through all of the chaos that is an email inbox. She is only $7 an hour. So it's roughly $50 a week. And that gives me like 7 or 8 hours a week. Can you imagine if you spent 7 or 8 hours a week less in your email inbox? That is an insane amount. And for only $50, do you understand how many things I would not purchase to be able to spend $50 a week on email support? It was such a no brainer. And I feel like an awesome mom now because I'm not missing these deadlines. And so that is like number one, go do it today. Send me a DM if you want the job description that I wrote. It's very basic. I'm sure you could figure it out, but I'm happy to help you. Find yourself a VA for personal and professional email support that also helps with the calendar and keeps things sorted. Um, I mean, the second thing that is an investment is childcare or a nanny in our house. And this is not full time. This is not a live in nanny. This is not a 40 hours a week nanny. This is just someone who is able to help with the kids and at the same time helps with, like, when my girls come home and they have clean laundry, she will help them get their stuff sorted, make sure they fold it, put it in their bins and get it away. And then I'm not wrestling and fighting with them about laundry. She's incredible. She helps with the dishes, like every day. The dishes pile up, and then there may be clean dishes in the dishwasher. Let's flip it, right? Let's get the clean ones put away and the dirty ones put in the dishwasher. This is something so simple. I also have a daily and then like a weekly checklist that just hangs on the fridge. So even if it's like someone helping us who doesn't normally help us, that list is already there, and I don't have to consistently repeat what it is that I'm asking them to do. So, cleaning off the kitchen countertops, cleaning off the dining room table, resetting the living room so it's like picked up and tidied up. Just things like that, because when I really looked at the cost of daycare versus the cost of someone coming to our house, it was actually more money for daycare than it was for someone to come into our house. Now, I do get a few less hours a week. Like I could put the baby in daycare, full time, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for this one price versus, the nanny being here for less hours. However, the home support that it comes with is such a game changer. So, again, if this is something that you did not grow up with, if you did not see this growing up, it can feel a little bit like, who I'm speaking for myself. So if this resonates with you, please let me know. Who am I to like bring somebody in? Well, you are the mom, right? Like you're the one that only can do certain things. Anybody can flip the dishwasher over. Anybody can do the laundry. Anybody can help tidy up the living room. Like legit, hundreds of people could do that, but only you can do like bedtime stories and prayer. But if you're completely drained at the end of the day and you have nothing left in the tank or patience left in the tank to be able to do that, that's not the life we want to live, right? Like, oh, I'm so frazzled by the end because I gave all of myself to my job and then I gave all of myself to the house and then my family gets like none of me. No, these are, if you're going to pay for daycare anyways, I would just encourage you to just do like a cost analysis and see like, hey, is it worth it to have someone help me with these other things? Because I get it, daycare is incredible, but having somebody help you with this house stuff is also super incredible. So that's the second thing. Um, Again, if you're listening to this and you have questions, please drop them in the chat. I would love to see any comments or questions. And if you're watching this on replay, hashtag replay. And I will just take 1 second here and plug our next event. So because of these incredible strategies and life hacks, we have been able to build a really amazing business. And so my husband and I coach speakers, and we have events in person here in Franklin, Tennessee, actually scheduled through November. So our next one is September 21st. It's right here in Franklin. You can get like real time with us. It's a full day, very workshop style. So if you are a speaker or communicator or leader and you're like, hey, I really want to be able to share my story and speak more powerfully, more vulnerably, have more people actually connect and resonate with me when I speak, that's exactly what we do with these workshops and events. So go ahead and follow that link to register for the next one. And if you're interested and you're like, hey, I feel like I want to work with y'all. I don't fully know everything, but I'm really interested because I love what I see and hear. Reach out to us and we can have a conversation. Amazing. Okay, so my next like strategy or life hack for this topic um is time blocking. There's a few different thoughts, schools of thought on time blocking, and I'll just give you a couple. This could be a whole live stream in and of itself, but if you have thoughts on time blocking, also drop those in the chat because I love to hear like what have you learned about this. One thing that I try to really do and that really sets me free in terms of like anxiety and feeling this pull between both worlds, personal professional world, is I've made the decision. If I'm working, I'm working. Like I now this is not I'm a robot and I never get caught in this like doom scroll moment. But the point is if I'm working, I'm like genuinely working, right? I'm doing all my best practices. I'm really trying to like stay focused and work. If I'm momming or in family mode, I am full on in mom and family mode because I used to try to do a little bit of both. And I would try to like be home, but also still trying to like answer people or, like how we all sort of get like sucked into our inbox, like maybe unconsciously you're like back in your email. I do not get this right all the time, but it's a mindset of if I am working, I am working. And if I am resting, I am resting. Or if I am in mom mode, I am in mom mode. Even those two things, like let me pause there. Even those two things, being in like mom mode versus rest mode, right? I had to do this yesterday. I tell my husband all the time, I can't really like chill until things are sort of tidied up. I had to put my blinders on and put on kitchen nightmares last night and just sit on the couch for a couple hours because I was so wiped out. And I was like, I am making the conscious choice to rest for the next 2 hours. So whatever is happening over there with y'all in the kitchen, I will get to it when I get to it. So making a conscious choice of like, what am I doing right now? Am I in family mom mode? Then I'm not worried about what's happening in my inbox. I'm not worried about the client messages and whatever's coming through because I've made a predetermination that this is the mode that I'm in. So let me fully be in that mode. If it's rest, if it's parenting, whatever that looks like. Now, I can do that because I know that I've blocked my calendar in such a way that I have a work block coming up whenever the next one is. So I knew last night when I closed my laptop, that was it. There was nothing that was really going to be on fire that badly that needed me that badly because I knew tomorrow, which is today now, I have a whole work block. I've got a 5 hour block where I can genuinely work and really consciously dive in and do good quality uninterrupted work. So I sit there for 2 hours and watch Kitchen Nightmare because I knew I had a work block coming. And so that's like my first thing on time blocking is if you're resting, rest. If you're working, work, right? Like make the conscious choice and really hold yourself to it because doing a little bit of both, you won't feel rested, you won't feel like a good parent, and you'll feel like a terrible, business owner or employee, whatever you are. Like trying to be in both worlds, nobody wins, and you get caught in the middle of it, and you just feel like it's just not a good feeling. And I know that because been there, done that, and it sucks. And so I've made the choice to be fully present in whichever I've made the choice to do. Awesome. Um, the next piece on time blocking is Cam, hi. Good to see you. Um, yeah, getting recommendations, finding things on your own. Yeah, let me see. Doing a bit of work, research, finding things on your own. You would think that I could read faster. It is so good to see you. Um, finding things on your yeah. So I lots of trial by error, right? Like Um, I've actually had people send me SOPs, standard operating procedures, on how to have like an email VA and how to like successfully use them. I didn't like use it to the fullest, but I took like little pieces from what she recommended. I took little pieces from what works for me. And then other things, like to be honest with you, I don't do a ton of research, but I've just been around some really good mentors who have found these like mindsets to really be successful for them. So I've watched certain mentors value, their time and be willing to put the investment in, or watched how they've hired certain people or the job description that they've written, and it's like, hey, watching the outcome of what you've gotten or what you're able to create with your family, let me go try that. And so just being around really great mentors who have done some of these things has gone way further than like any research. And then in all honesty, there's reels on Instagram that are very easy to like get stuck down the loop of like mom productivity hacks. And so but that's it. Honestly, it's watching other people do this and be successful in this, and then I adopt it to my own style and my own way. Um, and Ramon, it's super good to see you. Um, the other time block thing in terms of work that I do want to share is, and we teach our clients this when we talk about like your ideal week, and this is like Michael Hyatt has incredible resources on your ideal week. Go look up Michael Hyatt. Um, his new planner is awesome. Well, it's not new, but his planner is awesome. Um, are only really like probably three really big things that you can get done in a day. Making that decision on the front end is so helpful. One way that I heard it said is like, I have 9 inches of work on a 6-inch plate. You're going to constantly feel like you're behind. But making the decision on the front end of your workday, hey, these are like the three big things that if I didn't get anything else done, these are needle movers in my business or in my job. If I touched these three things and then went home, I did the most important thing that was in front of me. Now, as it relates to laying out your day, we go by energy management and time management. So Daryl had a boss back at CMU, and she actually had a private consulting business, and she charged higher prices in the morning for consulting clients than she did in the afternoon because she knew that the morning clients were going to get the best of her. It's the same concept. So if you're like laying out your day, and you're like, hey, I know that I'm better in the morning. I'm going to give like the juiciest projects or the projects that need my most creativity or the things that maybe it's an ugly frog today. And you're like, oh, I have been putting this off, but I'm the freshest right now. I'm going to put this chunk of work time for this specific thing first thing. And if you're a night owl, put it in the evening. But there are certain times of day when you are at your best. Be intentional about the task that you're doing at that time. If it's like a lackadaisical task that you could sort of do absentmindedly or doesn't really take the best of you, don't put that at your best time. You save that time, regardless of what time of day it is. Save that time for like either the biggest thing you need to accomplish, the most important thing, the thing that lights you up the most or takes the most creativity from you. Um, and then really block that time. Don't schedule a Zoom meeting in the middle of a 2-hour block because the minute you get on Zoom, you have to go into a completely different mindset. So stopping a creative flow or a focused flow to take a meeting is like, please don't do that. It's going to totally kill whatever you had. So we actually try not to schedule Zoom meetings before 11 a.m. Daryl and I are very similar. Our morning block is usually some of like the juiciest time of day that we can get some good stuff done. And then for me, I typically have this other little like late night burst once in a while if I'm not like super tired. Um, Time blocking. So if I have an administrative block, I'm looking at my calendar and scheduling. I'm looking at my emails and responding to people. I'm sending text messages. I'm making phone calls. That's my administrative block. If there's a creation block, I'm writing, I'm researching, I'm reading, I'm doing a post, I'm in like a visioning space, or I'm journaling. I'm really taking time to block that time, and it is not overlapped, and I'm not, again, I don't get this right all the time, but when I do really do these principles, oh my gosh, they're so helpful. So block that time for a specific task. It's a very different time for administrative. It's a different time for meetings. So just know that you have a flow and an energy throughout your day, and be mindful of how you're blocking your time, and don't bounce between things. Listen, I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. I've read hundreds of applications for jobs throughout different positions I've had in my career. If I'm hiring someone, if corporate is hiring someone, I was working at a church and we were hiring people. Listen, I've read hundreds of applications or resumes. People think that it is a badge of honor to say multitasking. For a job right now, or you're looking for a promotion, and you have multitasking on your resume, I beg of you, please change that word. It's a myth. It is really not a thing that people can do, and it's not a thing that you do well. What it tells me is that you really don't understand what multitasking is, and it's really not a trait that as an employer or someone in a hiring position that I'm really looking for. I'm looking for, I understand time management and energy management. I understand how to block my time so that I'm the most productive at my peak energy times. I understand, these are things you can put on your resume, right? Like, so take away the idea of multitasking and replace it with, I know how I work best. I am intentional about my calendar. I make conscious choices about when and where I schedule meetings and with who. That is so much more appealing to a hiring manager than the ability to multitask. So that was a freebie. That was like super aside. Um, so let me keep rolling here. Last thing is, if you are trying to balance work and home, and I give Daryl credit for this, and he knows this. So just again, shout out. I was a broken record for a lot of weeks when my kids. So I have three kids who are in school this year. They're fifth, third, and first grade. So this is last year. Um, every morning, yelling, scrambling. Did you brush your teeth yet? Is your backpack packed? Did you eat breakfast yet? Where's your socks? Da, 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 da. Like, literally, it was, you could almost just hit repeat on the morning. And then we would come to the nighttime, same thing. Oh, did you take your shower yet? Did you lay out your outfit yet? Did you pack your snack? Did you blah? Like, every day I'm saying the same thing. And it was like, you know what? This is a little bit crazy. Like, big time crazy. Let's stop, take a step back. How do we make our morning and nighttime not chaos and stress? So we created a morning and a nighttime checklist. We all right now, it's on the refrigerator, and you can get stickers, you can get magnets, you can give them markers, literally however you want to do it. But the point is, they have the same 6 or 7 or 8 tasks every morning and every evening. Whatever you find yourself repeating every morning and every night goes on the checklist. And I looked on Amazon and they've got some, but they weren't exactly what we do. So we just hand draw ours. And when it gets full of, all the little coloring marks and whatever. Now, for my kindergartner last year, she couldn't read very well yet. And so we also drew little pictures. They weren't super cute, but she knew what mommy drew. And so it worked. So we have a morning checklist and an evening checklist, all the things that they need to do every single day. And it was actually really great because I had a babysitter here Wednesday night and she was like, "Hey, what do I need to do with them?" And I was like, "Actually, their checklist is hanging on the refrigerator and they know how to do their checklist. So all you need to do is keep them sort of like, corralled like little cats trying to herd cats, but just keep them moving in the direction of their checklist." So I would encourage you, if you are on repeat every morning and night with your littles and you're like, "This is insane. Why do I keep doing this?" Write it down, and then they can put little checks next to each thing that they move through. And if you want me to send you a picture of ours, I'm happy to. It's not cute, it's not designed. I could easily go into Canva and do something super cute. But to each his own, and it gets messy eventually, and we throw it away, we make a new one. But that's been a huge environment changer, whatever a better way to say that is, but that has drastically shifted the environment that we have in the morning and the evening. Because yes, I'm still sort of repeating myself, and now I need to not get in the habit of yelling, "Did you start your checklist?" 100 times. But the point is, they know exactly where to go. They know how to read it. They know what they're moving through, and I know that if they've checked all their little pieces, we're good to go to school, or if they've checked all their little boxes, we're good to get in the bed, wind down, pray. So I would encourage you to do a checklist if you find yourself repeating yourself a lot. Um, that is the everything that I had prepared to chat with you about. I hope that this has been helpful. If you find yourself in a situation where you really don't know how to crack the code and you're like, hey, I'm a little bit scared to invest, or I'm a little bit scared to reach out and hire certain people, or like, what does that even look like? Just send me a message. I feel like with 4 kids and a business and taking my health really seriously lately and being in counseling for myself, and then having a marriage that we thank God are, doing better today than we've ever been in 9.5 years. Um, Something's working. Now we have a long way to go, but I have cracked the code on a few things. So I am so happy to help you in any way that I can. I think that's it. If you're watching this, hashtag replay in the comments and just tag me if you have questions or send me a message. And I hope that you all have an amazing Friday, an amazing Labor Day, and I will see you soon on our Entrepreneur Family Podcast.